Hello and welcome to the Guardian Football Weekly. Manchester City do what they have to do against Crystal Palace. 2 points behind Arsenal with 2 to play now. Palace started brightly, but a couple of glorious assists, one from Phil Foden and one from Rayan Cherki, helped Pep to keep the pressure on. The real drama last night was in Scotland. After seeing what a late VAR call can do for the title race in the Premier League, the SPL thought, let's have some of that. Celtic winning a penalty at the death at Motherwell. Kelechi Iheanacho was bafflingly calm as he rolled it home. So it's all to play for. Celtic v Hearts. A point is enough for the Jam Tarts. Then to spygate as Southampton sneaked their way into the playoff final. Kim Helberg heartbroken. Tonda Eckhart walking out of press conferences. Middlesbrough are still training just in case. We'll look ahead to the FA Cup final and the Premier League weekend. Answer your questions. And that's today's Guardian Football Weekly. On the panel today, Barry Glendenning, welcome.
Hi, Max.
Hello, Jordan Jarrett-Bryan.
Morning, mate.
And good morning, Will Unwin.
Hello, Max.
Let's begin with the title race. We'll get to that handball that looked suspiciously like a header in Scotland in a bit with Ewan. But before that, Arsenal are top of the Premier League, 79 points from 36. Man City now have 77 from 36 and a one better goal difference. They beat Crystal Palace 3-0. Will, you were there. It didn't sound like a cauldron to me, but how was it for you?
It was a very difficult sort of opening half hour for City, where Palace, in their team selection of sort of maintaining fitness before they have a proper match at the end of the season that they're interested in, put 10 men behind the ball, break us down, see what you can do. We'll try a bit to do you on the break if we can be bothered, but at the moment, we're just going to use this as a nice training exercise. And then Phil Foden, back in the starting lineup after a pretty disappointed season, produced the sort of moment of magic with the back heel to Semenyo that games like that needed. It was pretty flat inside the stadium. I don't think City fans are really expecting to chase down Arsenal at this point, and maybe 6 changes for City suggests the FA Cup is marginally more important. But yeah, it was quite easy in the end. City kept the ball very well, picked the gaps when they found them, and it was nice to see Foden do what he always promises to do and has the talent to do. 2 assists on a really good night for City, but yeah, it was pretty subdued all round. It was for end of season friendly type vibe.
It's so interesting, isn't it, Jordan? Like the difference between City, who are the title race, and Arsenal, who are obviously leading the title race, and the difference in vibe, in energy, in either like total terror or like this is like fever pitch that's happening at the Emirates and at the Etihad. A kind of it's unlikely we're going to win it, but we've won it before. We'll make 6 changes.
No, you're totally right, but it's funny because it was about a month ago, it was the opposite. There was a couple of Arsenal games where we finished quite flat and it was a vibe of, oh, we've blown this, we know what's coming here. And there was a couple of City games, maybe even the City-Arsenal game, where at the end, the Etihad was buoyant and bouncing then because they thought, yep, we know what's coming, this is our time. I mean, I'm straddling the rope of confidence and arrogance quite well, I think, because I watched this game really not caring.
Are you speaking about the
result.
title race or just you yourself?
Generally, there is that, to be fair, as well. But I watched this game just not really caring about the result because I'm quite confident it doesn't really matter. Now, just saying to Will before, I think the title race, I think we will win the league, so I've blatantly now jinxed it. But I just watched this game comfortable, knowing that I don't really care what the result here is because I don't think it ultimately changes the outcome of who wins the Premier League title. It was flat. It was a little bit meh. We also did have a bit of a last game of the season vibe about it. My only takeaway from this game was Phil Foden, again, as Bill said, and thinking about the World Cup. He was brilliant in this game, but I think that kind of discussion around the number 10s, I think it might be too little too late for him. I don't think he's performed for England previously. He's had chances, and whilst nobody's screaming for that number 10 shirt for England, I think if you look at Eze, could be a European and Premier League winner. Bellingham seems to be the front runner. Rodgers had a decent season, and Cole Palmer off the bench at the bare minimum has shown that he's an asset. I think he's at the bottom of the list, and I love Phil Foden. I think he's a brilliant player. Signing the contract at City was a weird one for me because it feels like he's achieved everything he can there. Maybe time for a new challenge, but he was brilliant in this game. But I fear in terms of the summer, it might be too little too late.
Yeah, and look, whatever happens with the number 10 spot, Barry, unless England win the World Cup, they'll be like, well, look at that back heel Phil Foden did against Palace. But Jordan is right. When he's on song, and I guess he was the story of this game, he has a grace and an elegance that makes you want to watch him play football.
Yeah, he's a terrific player. I don't think anyone has ever denied that. There's almost something feral about him. We've seen those videos of him playing street football and his close control and how good he is. But I will be surprised if he's in the England squad. He's just unlucky that England have so much strength and depth all over the place, really. A lot of super England footballers are not going to be at the World Cup through no great fault of their own. He hasn't had a good season. Players go in and out of form. And I suspect last night was too little too late. This was, quite a flat game. As soon as I saw Palace had left Sarr and Adam Wharton on the bench, you're kind of thinking, they don't really care about this. And that's fine. They're perfectly entitled to prioritise the Conference League final.
My only other thought from this game, and I'd love to come and get Will's view on this, is I've been of the thinking that this will be Pep Guardiola's last season at Manchester City. But you would have thought with it being City's second to last home game, of the season, there might have been like an announcement by now, I don't know if he's going to do it at the last game against Villa, like a wave goodbye. I don't know if you think there's been any kind of tell signs as to whether he will be leaving or he's going to be staying beyond this season.
Well, this is the hot topic. I mean, there's a lot of rumours flying around about whether it will be his last season. Sort of the edging and thinking is towards that he's going. I spoke to someone last week, and that people within the club think he's going, but he's not. He's definitely not confirmed it. I think people are confident that he sees this team, and I think he fancies this team, and he's not seen its full potential, which he'll want to see through. And so it'd be interesting to see on that front. In recent weeks, beating Palace easily last night, listening to Barry describe Ferrell as a positive for Phil Foden, he might be interested in harnessing that.
It wasn't meant to be an insult. I see now how it could be construed as such.
I've never heard Ferrell used as a praise.
No, I just let it go. But
God, look at that feral dog! Isn't he beautiful?
So doesn't he have grace?
I think he'd still wants to go out with a bigger trophy than the FA Cup, your Champions Leagues, your Premier Leagues. I suspect if he won the Premier League, I reckon he'd be out the door if Burnley pull it off on Monday and whatnot, and City do the business in Bournemouth and Villa. But honestly, I am starting to be of the opinion that he'll stick around for another season. He's got that in his contract. I mean, I was fascinated when he went to Port Vale, Stockport Port Vale the other week. He sort of promised to go watch a Stockport game for 8 years, and he decides just now to come good on his promise, just in case he needs to. He won't be here next season.
That's the thing that Pep should do, though, isn't it? The thing that Pep should do is, because everyone says, well, yeah, but could he do it with Stevenage? It's to go to Port Vale. It's to say, okay, and then spend 5 years seeing how well he could do at Port Vale. That would be the dream for all of us.
Harsh on John Brady there, Max. He's doing a good job.
No, it is harsh on John Brady. You're right. And my apologies to John. Look, the other moment from this game, Rayan Cherki's pass was great, and he has been really good. And that aside, I think you're right. Palace were pretty bright at the start. Could have got one maybe on the break, and Donnarumma made a brilliant save from Mateta, even though it was offside. And he's been pretty key for them this season. So look, Arsenal, Burnley on Monday, Bournemouth City on Tuesday. They can't mess it up now, Baz, can they? Arsenal.
I don't think so. I'd be astonished if they do. And I mean, if Palace had got a draw last night, then Arsenal would have been able to win the title at home, which, they will take winning the title at Selhurst Park, no problem. But it would have been nice for them to win it at, home. That now won't happen. I would love Burnley to surprise us all by at least putting up a good fight, but I can't see anything other than a steamrollering ahoy on Monday night.
Will, you've seen Burnley more than You think any other journalist this year?
Any of a national journalist.
Right.
Shout out to Matt Scrafton, on the locals, who has had to sit through it all season.
Do you feel like? Did you feel like the editor is telling you something, Will, by constantly telling you to watch Burnley?
I know the state of my career, and it is very much second from bottom in the league. Yeah, it was joked that
I'd kill to be sent to Burnley.
if I get found smothered in my sleep, we'll know who it was. As desperate to do turf more on the final day of the season. Of
Just to be clear, that is a joke. Case any of our bosses are listening.
Baz using all these good feral and murder stuff early doors. Yeah, I think I've been told I'm allowed to hand out the wooden spoon on the final day for the Burnley Wolves game. So if whoever finishes bottom, I can do it on the pitch, sort of ceremonially. I've missed 4 Burnley home games this season. Seen a few away. Don't you worry, everyone. They're terrible.
Probably done better than a season ticket holder. You probably need more games than some Burnley season ticket holders. Now, having watched them this much, do you give them what's your supercomputer? What is the Will Unwin supercomputer percentage of Burnley getting a point at the Emirates?
I'll give it a solid 0.5%. They'll go 5 at the back, the Mike Jackson wonder team, 4 in midfield. Zian Fleming desperately hoping to sort of, scuff one in for a late leveller. But they've got no chance. I'm gonna
do some self-harming here, boys, right? But let's have some fun, right? There's been some iconic Premier League moments in the Premier League's existence. If Arsenal were to bottle this on the last game of the season somehow, where does this rank in the most
against
iconic...
Palace? They've beaten Burnley. Okay, so they go to Palace, who are 3 days before their Conference League final, right? So they've rested their entire team. You're now playing Palace reserves at away. And where does this sit if Arsenal don't
Think
win
of like Cantona Kung Fu kick, Aguero last minute, Yeboah off the bar, big Premier League moments.
Well, I suppose I'm trying to think of a team that didn't win, that needed to win, and that cost them the Premier League title is probably Man United at West Ham, isn't it? When
Ludo McCloskey turned into an octopus.
Yeah, because Blackburn lost to Liverpool, didn't they? So I guess that is the equivalent. And and Andy Cole, I think, missed quite a few chances in that game. But I suppose this feels like it would be a bigger, because Man United won the title so many times. Of course, it mattered, but it doesn't matter. That's the point where Arsenal are at. I think, Jordan, is to fail to get over the line now. And trust me, it's glorious to speculate about it, because I think you're right. Once the games are played, I don't think we'll be able to. But just for a moment to think, I would listen to phone-ins. Do you know what I mean? It's that level. It's that level of it would be absolutely extraordinary now, right?
Everyone would be a sort of modern day Peter Cook character, sort of phoning in.
Well, interestingly, and maybe I shouldn't give away the secret, but we have like a dump button for swearing on the radio on TalkSport. But it sort of it builds up a delay over time. So if people keep going Peter Cook and swearing, then they just can't do anything about it, right? Like the BBC doesn't have a delay, so you just have to apologise. There's 2 ways to do that. But there's
I think you're getting your Peter Cook characters mixed up, Max.
Right, I see.
He used to ring phone-ins pretending to be, was it an Icelandic or a Norwegian fisherman?
Yeah.
Right. I see.
But I'm just sort of suggesting there'd be like caricatures of who they're supposed to be. These sort of Arsenal fans phoning up, sort of, again, not using the word feral as a positive. I'll say that.
No. Anyway, so that is it. Arsenal Burnley on Monday, Bournemouth City on Tuesday. Then on the final day, Palace v Arsenal and City versus Villa. And Villa could have something to play for, but they will be a few days after the Europa League final. So they could also be in the Champions League and not be that bothered. But yeah, that's what's going to happen in the Premier League, and we'll obviously cover it on the pod next week, and that'll do for part one. Part two, we'll go full VAR in Ewan Murray's Fitbar Corner. Welcome to part two of the Guardian Football Weekly. Now, last week, Ewan Murray was on. We speculated it might be the first time we'd heard Happy Ewan Murray. It may not be the case today. The top of the Scottish Premiership looks like this. Hearts top, 80 points from 37. Celtic have 79 from 37. After last night's results, Hearts beat Falkirk 3-0 and Celtic won 3-2 at Motherwell. Ewan, welcome. How are you?
Exhausted. Yes. How are you?
I'm good, but I mean, we don't tend in the sort of the downtime pre-show chat to talk about football. We save it, but we've all been talking about this VAR call at Fir Park. It's 2-2 in the final minute of injury time. Celtic have a long throw. Sam Nicholson, Motherwell player, goes up with Austin Trusty. His arm is raised, but unless he has the punch of Mike Tyson, he heads it out for a corner, right? Did it brush his arm? I don't know, but it is given as a penalty after a pretty quick VAR check. Derek McInnes said a disgusting call. Martin O'Neill said a clear handball. Your thoughts, Ewan?
Martin O'Neill said that with a straight face as well. It was the most remarkable thing. That's one of the most incredible decisions I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of incredible decisions. I mean, Hearts' run in this Scottish title race means there's been attention everywhere. The story has you guys know it, has gathered attention in all corners of the world. Well, if there's any corner of the world that wasn't gathering attention, then that VAR call last night reached those very corners. It was a staggering moment, given what was at stake. But it would be a staggering decision anyway if it was a game involving two bottom six teams in Scotland. It was inexplicable, unfathomable. The key point with Nicholson's arm is his arm hits Trusty's shoulder, which knocks it up the way, which affects whether I'm not certain he touched the ball with his hand either, but the mere projection of the ball, he clearly headed it. But if his hand was, as I say, in an unnatural place, it was because his arm bounced off Trusty's shoulder. And one of many, you touched on it, but one of many stunning things about this was that John Beaton, the referee, took 15, 20 seconds to look at the screen and determined it was a penalty. It was so quick.
Yeah, and I suppose, we often complain about how long VAR checks take, Barry, but the whole, and I hate saying clear and obvious, I hate saying it, but I just don't know how anybody can say, I don't know how many times I've watched that. I don't know how many times a whole panel have watched that. And none of us know. I do not know if he's touched that with his hand or not. I don't know what the handball law really is anymore. If he has touched it, I don't know if that's a handball, but you cannot categorically say that is a clear and obvious error.
No. Was it a handball? I don't know. I don't think so. There's a still doing the round that shows Sam Nicholson, his hand is on his forehead and the ball hits the back of his hand. He clearly heads it either with, his hand between his head and the ball back out, either for a throw-in or a corner. So that's 20 yards he's hoid it. Was it a clear and obvious error? No. Was the game re-refereed? Yes. That's not supposed to happen. There is a suggestion he went to check one foul but awarded the penalty for another. I don't know if that's the case. But this was clearly a case for referee's call that the on-field decision could stand, because you could look at that replay 100 times and not be clear on whether it's a handball or not. And that's the third big decision that's gone against Hearts in the last 4 days. I'm not crying conspiracy. It's just a matter of fact. It's a massive decision. It's gone against Hearts, and it's the third one. There was two big ones at the weekend. One the Celtic game, one the Hearts game, and now this.
I don't know, Ewan. I the more that VAR interferes, the whole point of it was to stop controversy, and all it does is add controversy, right? Pre-VAR, that is a corner, and no one says anything about anything.
Can I read a quote to you? And you can tell me who it's from. The quote says, "It is such a nonsense. I am all for people that have missed something dramatic in a game that constitutes something they should have a look at. But when a referee sees the incident himself and then what he's been asked to do is, no, you didn't see that, you saw something else. That has got to be debilitating for a referee. It has got to be. In time, we won't need a referee. VAR will do it from wherever they are doing it from, because that is what they did. Brackets in this instant. This is someone speaking about the re-refereeing of a game. Who was that?
Ooh. I mean, it could be so many managers, couldn't it?
Well,
Was it yesterday?
It was Martin O'Neill in February when Celtic had a player sent off, and he believed that the game was being re-refereed. That was his point of view then. Yeah, sorry, the overall VAR point. I have two. I've had this issue for a long time, so I'm not crying foul after last night. I have two fundamental issues with VAR in Scotland. One, Scottish football was supposed to be all about the supporter experience, the in-game experience, the fan attending the match. They make great play of that, and they made embarrassing great play of that during COVID times in a bid to get fans back into grounds and raise money. Now, VAR in Scotland materially undermines the match attending experience, and I say that as a paying customer who does it, not a journalist. And the other thing is, Scotland doesn't have enough referees to spread them even more thin with VAR. So, it doesn't have enough capable referees for the top flight in the country. So when you bring in VAR and you need them for VAR duties, assistant VAR duties, plus what they're doing on the pitch, it's obvious you're going to diminish the standard of refereeing. And what has baffled me for a while, and obviously does this morning, is that Scottish football clubs who pay for this have sat back and allowed this to happen, rather than actually saying, maybe this is detrimental to what we're trying to do here. So, but as I say, those are issues I would have told you before last night's episode anyway.
They also seem to have gone for a budget version of VAR, because both on Sky Sports and the footage the referee was shown, he was only shown one angle. That we've only seen one angle, and it's not a very helpful one. So, either have it with all its bells and whistles, or ideally don't have it at all. This is now that instead of needing to beat Hearts by 3 clear goals at home on Sunday, Celtic now just need to beat them. Yeah. And you can understand Derek McInnes's rage.
Actually, he sounded. And I heard another interview with Derek McInnes, Ewan, and he actually sounded pretty level about that. I don't know if it was before he said it was a disgusting call, or afterwards, or either had he collected himself or had he not seen it properly to realise how egregious it was. But he has to use this as motivation. Hearts have had a brilliant season. They are still, and I think a lot of neutrals would love them to win the title. They are still in the box seat, would you say? I mean, they only need to avoid defeat.
Yeah, only. Yeah, as I said last night, so easy to say and write, a bit more difficult to do.
Yeah, of course.
No, he was calm, Derek McInnes. It was his words, that word, disgusting, and he used it when he came and sat in the main press conference, obviously leaps out. I mean, Hearts have a further grievance because they were denied what I think and they think was a blatant penalty at Motherwell on Saturday evening. So there's a combination of things here. And I felt sorry for Derek and the Hearts players last night, because at the end of that game, it should have been a celebration of sorts. They'd won the game. They've had an unbeaten league season at home. They've had a monumental season overall in terms of taking the title this far, and they deserved a really strong ovation and some great moments in front of their fans. And that was taken away because of what happened at Motherwell, and I thought that was a pity. In terms of the game on Saturday, as you know, I have emotional investment in this. If you had to go to Celtic Park having to lose 2-0 and you could still win the league, I and others like me would be uncomfortable with that. But I think it's definitely preferable to going there needing a point,
of course,
to win the league. So it felt like a significant shift. It was such a big deal. And obviously the circumstances behind it are why Hearts, their fans, felt so and looked certainly so deflated.
If it wasn't to go Hearts' way this weekend, how are Hearts set up going forward next year? Does it look like they're good enough to go again and a title charge, or title indeed, is coming? Or does this feel like a once-in-a-generation opportunity to land a title?
No, I think they're in a very good place with Tony Bloom's involvement, with the analytics involvement, with the way the club is set up. I think they're in a great position. I think this is the start of a strong journey, and I'm not at all convinced by what Celtic and Rangers might do over the summer either. There will be a big adjustment for Hearts next year, obviously. Expectations have risen. The club's going to at least be in the Champions League qualifiers. I'm not saying next season will be straightforward, because there's going to have to be a lot of change and a lot of adjustment. but they're well set up. But you can't get away from the fact that if they don't win, it's bizarre. If you said to any Hearts supporter last summer, would you take going to the last day and you've got a chance of winning the league? Of course they would say yes. They haven't won this since 1960, but when you come on this journey and you might not win it, and if they don't win it, it will be crushing. You cannot get away from that, and that will take a long time to recover from as well. But that's just the vagaries and the emotions attached to football.
Ewan, we've seen how poor Celtic's recruitment has been this season. We've seen the arrogance of their board at that famous AGM, and then the fiasco with Rodgers leaving and Wilfred Nancy coming in and getting the bullet. If they go on to win the league, will their board then go, we are doing everything right, nothing
What's all the fuss
here.
About? What's all the fuss about?
Yeah.
There's every chance of that. The answer with Celtic is you never entirely know. I mean, Dermot Desmond, as the main shareholder, is not around. Obviously, you don't see him or hear from him, so you never entirely know what their thoughts are. But I think there's every chance they will say it was a sticky season and we've still come out with the championship. What's all the fuss about? Which would be a mistake. Celtic need an overhaul of quite a lot of things, but they need a manager, they need a new chairman, they need various things behind the scenes. When you go to Celtic Park, it's a tired venue. Their own supporters rightly acknowledge that. So they need a big overhaul, but I think there is a live chance that if they win this league, they will regard it as further justification of what they do. I think history tells us that, when actually, if you scratch just a little bit below the surface, there's an awful lot of work needing done there to make them they should be a serious, incredible force in European football, not Scotland, and they've missed the opportunity over a number of years. So, yeah, that will become an intriguing conversation if they get it done on Saturday.
No, look, we know in this situation Hearts are the goodies and Celtic are the baddies. But it was
you said that.
when Celtic got that penalty, there was just this absolute classic, and every fan will know this. The Celtic fans went absolutely mad, and then they realised they had to watch their team take a penalty, and that joy went to absolute fear. You could just see so many Celtic fans with just their head in their hands like this. And you do have to say, Ewan, Ian
and then Kalichi Iheanacho picked up the ball.
But he was extraordinary. Like, that was one of the most chilled out penalties I think I've ever seen.
It was a terrifically calm penalty. Yeah, listen, I accept the goodies and baddies analogy, and I would probably use it myself, but for the Celtic fans at the game, that's an enthralling, exhilarating experience. I completely get that. You're in a title race, you're staring down the barrel of a pretty grim situation, and you get a penalty in those circumstances. I completely get their attitude. I wouldn't decry them that. It's just in broader context, and as I said, we can't get away from it. The way that was awarded means that there was, there's been eyebrows raised, shall we say, way beyond Scotland. And there will be ramifications if Celtic go on and win the league. Unfortunately, that will just become a reference point for years to come.
And the annoying thing about Martin O'Neill saying that, and you've encapsulated personally, and it's not just him. Managers do this all the time. They criticise the ref if the decision goes against them. They almost never go. It doesn't change the result. It would be so refreshing if a manager said, actually, I don't think that was the right decision, or I don't know, and I don't like VAR, and be consistent with it, because I don't know. I'm clutching at how VAR might actually be. We could get rid of it from this game, and it would have to come from people being consistent. Ethically about decisions.
And supporters. I mean, I've already got it in social media, as I'm sure we all have. Celtic supporters try to contort themselves into absolutely convincing you why it was a penalty. And I think this is a difference between supporters of Hearts, for example, and supporters of Celtic and Rangers. Hearts fans, I think we would laugh and say, geez, we got away with one there. Wasn't that funny? That's the attitude you would take. Whereas I think supporters of the big two in Scotland are so ensconced in all this, they have to convince you and convince themselves, oh no, actually it was a penalty, instead of, and Martin O'Neill was an extension of that, where, he obviously just cannot say, yeah, we definitely get away with that and laugh about it. It wouldn't make Hearts feel any better, but I think it would undeniably be the truth.
Sure. I mean, we are all guilty of that, I guess. I've watched that James Maddison non-penalty. I mean, it's like days after the game happened, thinking, maybe we can find a way of thinking that I mean, it's a waste of my time. Anyway, Ewan, look, let's catch up on Monday, regardless.
Yes, possibly.
Okay. Ewan Murray, our Scottish
you.
football correspondent. Thank you, Ewan. Cheers, mate. Ewan Murray there, our Scottish football correspondent. We'll move on to an email from Adam, who says, hello, Max, Barry, and everyone else. Long-time listener, first-time emailer here. I'm a Southampton fan due to the fortune of my place of birth. This past week has been very conflicting for me, given Spygate and all the rancour around that, plus the allegations over Taylor Harwood-Bellis abusing Luke Ayling. Frankly, I'm embarrassed. I don't really know how to react. Southampton are not a club that engender much feeling from anyone apart from Pompey fans. And as a result, I'm completely at a loss for suddenly supporting a vilified team. Rupert Lowe, who we always hated, and Matt Letizia aside, we always just seemed like a nice club, like Fulham, Brighton or Norwich. I'd probably be used to hate if I supported a top club or Millwall or MK Dons or whoever, but I don't. As a result, the situation has left me discombobulated. I'd like to just support my nice, rather unthreatening team, but that's not easy right now. I'd be interested in what panelists suggest. I'm hoping that it was just a bad apple or apples, but that seems rather far-fetched. As a result, maybe we should be kicked out of the playoffs, although there seems to be a lot of other cheating that goes lightly punished. Whatever happens, I'll be happier when Southampton stop being a topic for bad reasons on Football Weekly. At least we still have the FA Cup run to remember. Cheers for all you do, Adam in Bristol. Well, unless, of course, you spied your way through the FA Cup run. So, look, it will be Southampton-Hull at Wembley. We think Middlesbrough are still training at the moment because Southampton beat Middlesbrough 2-1 after extra time. Shea Charles sort of cross that just sort of wandered into the far post, and the Middlesbrough players all Sami Kafur style fell to their knees. But the story, Barry, is Spygate, isn't it? The spying question has been named by the Daily Mail as a guy called William Salt. Sort of sounds like a character from Robin Hood, doesn't he? Hiding just behind a tree. He looks about 12 years old with an iPhone. But the report states that he used his personal bank card to buy a coffee. His first mistake as a spy. At Rockcliffe Hall Golf Club, which backs onto the training ground, is owned by the club's chairman, Steve Gibson. I don't know what you think, Barry, but it is impossible to know how they resolve this. It's impossible to know what the right punishment is and where spying fits on the sort of grand, I know we talked about it already, but on the sort of grand scale of, I don't know, claiming a throw-in that isn't yours at one end of cheating and match fixing at the other end, where spying fits in.
Yeah, I mean, for all that I suspect it's probably not as useful as, in terms of risk of getting caught and reward for getting footage of some Middlesbrough set pieces, I'd say it's probably not worth it, but it's definitely at the higher end of the scale, in my opinion. Southampton have not denied spying on Middlesbrough. They haven't admitted it either. They have asked for more time to get to the bottom of what seems to me a fairly straightforward issue. Did we spy? Who was involved? How deep does this thing go? That shouldn't take more than 20 minutes to figure out, really, I think. Tonde Eckhart keeps getting shoved into press conferences and being asked about spying, and he's clearly been told not to answer any questions about it. I think he wants to answer questions about it. The Southampton press officer doesn't seem to be very good at being a press officer, but I appreciate he's in a very difficult position that he probably never imagined being in as a Southampton press officer. I don't think Borough lost this tie because Southampton spied on them. I think they lost because Southampton were much better than them certainly across the second leg. I'm not surprised Borough are continuing to train in the hope that Southampton might be slung out of the playoffs and they will get the place in the final instead. I wouldn't be shocked if that happened. Is there a case to be made that Southampton should just say, do you know what, we'll withdraw. We did it. We're sorry. Borough can play in the playoff final. I know I'm away with the fairies thinking a football club would do that with the money at stake, but it's an option. I would be very surprised, whether he's involved or not, I would be very surprised if Tonde Eckhart isn't considering his position. Even if he's completely innocent, if I was him, I'd be thinking about just walking away from this because I wouldn't want to be tainted by association.
Yeah, I mean, I think he is tainted already, but it feels so unlikely, and we don't know that analysts are doing this without telling the manager. I mean, if they are, that's sort of quite extraordinary. They're trying to do all this sort of undercover stuff. But I mean, it's possible, I guess, Will.
Well, but the analyst has to be given the information to someone else. That's what analysts do.
Imagine you know, a few days before the biggest game of the season, it's like, oh, you take a day off, mate.
Where's Will?
Yeah, you got something. You got something to do. Don't you worry about it. You crack on. We'll carry on without you. I mean, there is one problem with Barry's suggestion that Saints just sort of withdraw from the playoffs. Is that would show quite a lot of class, and they've shown absolutely zero in the past week. From top to bottom, it's been incredible. From these like press conferences to spying to ball boys taking the ball back during the match and things like that. So that's not going to happen. I mean, I think the only solution is to kick them out of the playoffs because everything else has too many connotations. You try and have a points deduction this season and that moves around what should have happened in the playoffs, whether who had the home leg second or who played who. Financial, it's never going to make a difference if they get the 150 million quid. So the only actual option is just to, at this point go, yeah, you're out, you're gone. And that's otherwise... there's too many problems that will come off the back of it. And I'm sure Southampton will, try and come up with some claim that their lone wolf, 12-year-old looking analyst has come up with this cunning plan to hide in the bushes. But yeah, I think, get rid of him.
Southampton getting kicked out of the playoffs and Man City relegated in the same week. I mean, that is the dream.
Well, if that happened, that week would be in about 2055, I would suggest, Jordan. I mean, I suppose that the interesting thing, Jordan, is I don't disagree with you, Will, that, if they are found guilty, that throwing them out of the playoffs seems to be the only sensible solution. But like on a scale of like, if you breach PSR, like it's not as interesting a crime. It's not as easy to kind of follow. It's not as obvious. It's not as like Sky Sports News recreate. They literally recreated a man hiding behind a tree for like 5 minutes. It was absolutely, fair play to that reporter for doing that with a straight face. But if you breach PSR, that means you can pay more wages to players, buy better players, while other teams are following the rules. And surely that is a bigger advantage than going to hide behind a tree in Middlesbrough. And yet, is this punishment? I mean, I don't know. Do you see the point I'm trying to make? Whereas the punishment is a sort of small points deduction.
Well, I guess it depends on what said team's objective is. So for Southampton, trying to get into the Premier League, that is huge. Or back at that, the Prem, that's huge. So for Chelsea or a Premier League club, doing things with their books and finances, that is also huge, but in a very different way. I agree with Will. I think if they're found guilty, and I think it's a pretty open shut case here, I think the only solution is to kick them out of the playoffs because it's not acceptable. But I also agree with Barry's earlier point about risk to reward. I just think to myself, it feels like a really big thing to do for not that much gain, but if you get caught, the consequences, as I'm alluding to, could actually be really, really big. So I just think, was it really worth it? I just don't see if it was worth it in that sense.
No, and I mean, obviously, and it's one of those things, Barry, that simultaneously it is serious and it is cheating, and it's also incredibly funny. And I think you can you can just because we were talking about it, me and Charlie on the radio yesterday, and being flippant about it, and then Middlesbrough fans are saying, if this was a big club, you'd hate it. And you go, no, actually, it's just funny that a man went to Middlesbrough to hide behind a bush. And then it is funny that Southampton fans dressed as bushes. Like, that is a funny thing.
And then it turned out to be a tree.
Yeah, exactly. And I did wonder, maybe Middlesbrough, what they could have done, they could have turned him into a double agent when they caught him. And that would have been the real sting if they'd done that. But, I mean, it has totally overshadowed the game. And it's put a lot of people at that club, I'm sure, there must be lots of people who work at Southampton, probably the players who probably didn't know anything about this, and a lot of the staff and other people who have been put in a totally invidious position by this. And you're right, we don't know how high up it went, but there'll be lots of innocent people at Southampton who are absolutely livid, right? Livid. And fans are laughing and dressing the street, but there'll be other Southampton fans who'll be furious with their, for putting them through that email.
Be embarrassed if it was a team I supported that was at that crack. I mean, I was listening to you and Charlie yesterday, and you spoke to Franny Benali, who revealed he's currently working on a cruise liner. I was thinking, is he a cabaret singer now? Is he a magician? He's quite the career swerve. He's just giving sort of leadership speeches or something. But anyway, I'm sure the likes of him is thoroughly embarrassed about it. He had to be a bit careful about what he said, but you could read between the lines and tell he's not happy with the carry on.
Yeah. So Hull will probably play Southampton on the 23rd, the day before the last day of the Premier League, and we'll see what the EFL have to say in the next few days. But I think I can't see another Tonda Eckhart press conference. I never thought I'd be glued to Tonda Eckhart press conferences, but now I just can't watch anymore with the really
It's
angry
almost
press officer.
cruel at this stage.
Yeah.
Putting him in front of the press, because it's obviously the only thing reporters want to ask him about, and it's the one thing he's not allowed to talk about.
Yeah. In League One, Stockport beat Stevenage 2-0. So they will play either Bradford or Bolton in the final. And then the League Two playoffs are on Friday. Salford 2-1 up against Grimsby. Notts County 1 up against Chesterfield.
Can I say fair play to Stockport, who have not had two centre-backs for the past month and are playing the league's top goal scorer, Kyle Wootton, at centre-back, who did score a magnificent goal last night against Stevenage. And so, it's quite impressive that they keep going. I mean, helped by Louis Barry and whatnot. But, yeah.
Dion Dublin style, is that?
Yeah. They've had, it's just quite funny. It's, you'd think it might be your reserve centre forward. No, it's the best centre forward in the league we've had to put at centre back to try and get us through the end of the season. Obviously I live in Stockport, so incredible what Mark Stott and Simon Wilson, who's leaving at the season, have done over the past sort of decade almost. And so they deserve a lot of credit, and so especially with Simon leaving in the coming weeks. Done really well, so it'd be interesting to see. Hopefully they can get up, because Stockport v Tottenham next season will be a big game for the town.
Well, we'll get to a Premier League preview in a second. Before that, the FA Cup final preview. Welcome to part 3 of the Guardian Football Weekly. So then Man City, Chelsea. City, the first team to play in 4 consecutive FA Cup finals. It's Chelsea's 17th final, the third most after Manchester United and Arsenal. They've won 8 and lost 8. City haven't lost to Chelsea in any competition since the Champions League final in 2020-2021. So, how do we see this playing out, Jordan?
I think City win it, because I think City are just significantly better than Chelsea at the moment. I think City want that double. I think that they know they're unlikely, he says arrogantly again, to win the Premier League. So a double and finishing second in the Premier League, I think constitutes a decent season for them. I think Chelsea are a mess. I don't think they're playing particularly well. I think there was slight improvement against Liverpool, but Liverpool aren't very good, so that's not a very good barometer either. I just think City will assert their superiority over Chelsea in this game, who still don't have a manager in charge and are kind of a little bit in the wilderness. So I think it would be quite a big shock if Chelsea were to win this final.
But then it would be so Chelsea to win this after a season like this.
That is true as well. Yeah, we've seen Chelsea have really poor seasons and come away with silverware. I just think Pep doesn't want to let this go, and I think, as I go back to our earlier conversation about it being his last season potentially, I just think he wants to rack up as many trophies and cups as he can before he does leave, whether that is this or next season. They're just significantly better than Chelsea. I think it would be a shock if City were to lose this, but we've seen Wigan do it, so I could be wrong.
Not just Wigan. Eric Ten Hag's Manchester United beat City.
Yeah, that's
No, that was a shock.
Baz, what do you reckon? Oh, no, carry on more.
No, I was just going to say, similar to that Champions League final, there'll be no Rodri, which I guess is what gives Chelsea a bit of hope. But take away the Everton game, City have been pretty good recently. It was quite easy last night against Crystal Palace. Doku in form. Chelsea really not at the races. I think Doc will have a lot of fun on Saturday. He likes a trip to Wembley. So it would be a big shock. But I think City are just in the sort of robotic machine nature of their performances, AI football, if you will, against sort of analog Chelsea. So I'd be confident if I was City for a good day out.
Yeah, I find it hard to see past City, but obviously I thought they'd win it the last 2 seasons as well, and they haven't. It would be odd if they lost 3 cup finals in a row, FA Cup finals. Will we see a goal from Erling Haaland? That's the question. He's, including Community Shields, he's played 9 finals for Man City. He has yet to score in one.
It's an interesting stat, Barry. Are you calling him a flat track bully?
I am. I'm putting them right up there with Harry Kane. The pair of them
Got
are
it.
frauds.
So in the Premier League, all the games are on Sunday. The biggest one is at St James's Park, Newcastle versus West Ham. Currently West Ham in the relegation zone, 36 points from 36 games, 2 points behind Tottenham. They have a much inferior goal difference as well. So if they win this, they jump over Spurs. And I guess, Baz, it is just which Newcastle turn up.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, and which West Ham turn up. West Ham are in a bit of a wobble. They've lost 2 in a row. Won at Newcastle last season, lost the season before, drew the one before that. So we can't really read anything much into that. There's no doubt in my mind West Ham are good enough on their day to beat Newcastle. Newcastle are not having a good time of it at the moment. Anthony Gordon seems to be being phased out. He's been linked with Bayern Munich, and Eddie Howe didn't play him last weekend because he said he's looking to the future. So one presumes he might be left out again. I find the Bayern Munich links slightly odd. Anthony Gordon's quite a good player. I don't think he's anywhere near as good as he thinks he is, and I couldn't imagine him getting near that Bayern Munich first team, but who knows? So I'd give West Ham a decent chance, and they could also get battered. I don't know.
I'm obviously speaking with a lot of hope that Newcastle do show up, Jordan, but it is their last home game of the season. My friend Tom, who's a Sunderland fan, pointed out that Newcastle are 2 points behind Sunderland and will absolutely not want to finish below them. Now, that is the fans. The players may not. The players will obviously care, but Kieran Trippier's last game as well. Like, I'm really clutching here, but like,
It's just you are.
you think they will show up? You think it's early evening, and St James's will be rocking, and please, Newcastle.
yeah. You're struggling.
Wash
there,
your
Max.
mouth
You're
out,
struggling. You've put a very good case forward there, Max. But I'm not sure any of those reasons trump West Ham's motivation, which is bigger than all of those things. I think they get a result there, and this isn't with my Arsenal hat on. I think Spurs are in trouble. I think Spurs had to beat Leeds. And I think they've left the door open.
Don't say it twice. Don't say it twice.
Sorry.
I heard you the first time.
Oh, right. I think that was an opportunity missed for Spurs. I think West Ham go there and win. I think West Ham have been playing, from my vague memory, they've been playing well. They haven't won all their games of late, but they've been playing and fighting with a spirit that I just haven't seen in Spurs until the last maybe a couple of games. I think if West Ham win this game and it goes to the last game of the season, I've got a feeling Spurs might go. But you put a good case forward for Newcastle, to be fair to you.
Yeah, as I said,
ex-Spurs.
Yeah.
90th
As I said
free
the other
kick.
day, there is every chance that neither West Ham or Tottenham get any more points, and that's fine with me. But yeah, so Tottenham go to Chelsea on Tuesday, and then their last games are Spurs are at home to Everton and West Ham are at home to Leeds. The PGMOL, by the way, have released the whole VAR conversation from Sunday, from the game with Arsenal, the Callum Wilson goal. Producer Tayo, obviously Arsenal fan, listening to it, was still worried they weren't going to disallow the goal. Elsewhere, Villa-Liverpool on Friday. Winner is guaranteed Champions League football, and the losers sort of might have to sweat a bit depending on how Bournemouth get on. Does anyone have any strong thoughts on this?
I don't, because most of them are pretty inconsequential. The Villa-Liverpool game, I'd plump for Villa if they didn't have the safety net of the Europa League final to get them into the Champions League. I'll be interested to see what team Unai Emery picks for this game. And beyond that, I can't call it. Liverpool certainly need to play better than they did against Chelsea last week, because that was a very poor performance, apart from, say, the first 20 minutes.
Now, we had Sid on the pod on Tuesday, was it? And then Florentino Perez came out and did an absolutely tremendous press conference where he said, I'm not in bed, unwell. I have to come out and sit here because as Real Madrid president, I can't allow journalists to do what they do. I work hard. I'm up early and I'm the last to go to bed. I understand there's frustration out there. If people have forgotten, we won 37 titles since I've been in charge. I'd like to know the people who are saying these things in these board of directors. I want whoever is leaking this to come out. And of course, the enemy, La Liga. We have a battle against La Liga. Corruption in the game, systematic. He said. He said he'd hold elections.
I love his analogy. He's always first into the boardroom and last one out.
Practicing what exactly? Yeah, no, like not practicing free kicks, but practicing hiring Jose or
Sending
signing
faxes.
It's very much Jeffrey Boycott on Brass Eye about getting all the way out of bed, if anyone ever remembers that. You have to get all the way out of bed. I'm not ready until I'm 100% out of bed. You can't bat while lying in bed. That's what it is.
Anyway, it's worth reading. It's worth reading Sid's piece on that.
It's very much just the Father Ted Golden Cleric Award acceptance speech, and now the liars.
Yeah, exactly. Cristiano Ronaldo, Barry, had a sad time of it. Almost won the Saudi League, and then injury time. A quite amazing own goal cost his side, didn't it?
Yes, and we were treated to just footage of sulky Ronaldo sitting alone on the bench with his lip out, quivering, and I won't lie, I revel in his misfortune. I'm a small man.
Yeah. No, at least you admit it. Hello, gang. It's Pavel here from Warsaw, Poland. To keep up with the pub tradition, I'm writing to you because the time has come, and on the 17th of May, I'll marry my beautiful fiancée, Magda. She's no interested in football, but she's a big Swiftie, and as a true millennial, a Harry Potter fan. Being a Real Madrid fan means it was a really shitty season, so at least I'll have another reason to celebrate. Obviously, I'm hoping for truly heartwarming wishes from Barry, or if by any chance they're on the pod, Barney or Johnny Lou. Sorry, Jordan. Sorry, Will. Not interested in anything from you.
I hope you get divorced soon.
Yeah, thanks, Will. Go on then, Barry. Pavel and Magda.
Well, Will's already stolen my line about their imminent divorce, but I hope they have a lovely day, great wedding. I've been to a Polish wedding before. I'll be honest, I don't know how anyone in Poland gets through the day because the speeches take place before the meal, and every speech, at the end of each one, you have to everyone toasts and then knocks back a shot of vodka. I was on the floor before the soup was served. And I think
Barry.
I think I left at about 7:00 because I was so drunk, so drunk. So, Polish wedding. Take it handy, Pavel and Magda. I hope you have a great day, and maybe just toast every second speech.
Yeah, or do the
Barry
Perry
woke up in Gdansk, but the wedding was in North London.
Yeah.
Just do the Perry Groves. When he was out with the Arsenal lads, and he just stood by the pot plant, and they for ages they were like, God, he can hold his booze, and he was just pouring it all in the pot plant. And then Tony Adams stood next to the pot plant, and he had a very bad day. Anyway, that'll do for today.